How you doing, guys? Welcome back to Invested Intelligence. Bears return. Seeing a little bit of movement on Bitcoin. If we just drop down to the hourly chart, we can see pretty aggressive drop. Very easy to be pulled into this idea that there's volatility coming, everything's going crazy, but we take a step back, we jump to the daily, and we can see all that's happening effectively, is we've been at this level many times throughout the history of Bitcoin, and this is no different. You've got to imagine that the people, or some of these bigger players that purchased, or even normal retail traders that managed to grab some Bitcoin around about 15, 16, 17,000, they're up close to 100% on their investment, all the way up to 30K. It's expected that we're going to see a little bit, in terms of relief, a little bit in terms of profit taking. Now there's many reasons why this could have happened. There's a lot of craziness going on crypto Twitter at the moment. Binance is doing one thing, it's an exchange doing something else. You've got miners dumping Bitcoin on the market. But I think ultimately, if we just take a step back and just look at the chart and try to be reasonable, and use a little bit of common sense. If I was holding Bitcoin at 15K and it gets to 30K, I'm taking profit. Now whether or not collectively that's enough to get, price moving, remains to be seen. I don't believe it is, but I think some of the bigger players are taking profits up here. I do believe that some miners, are probably using this opportunity or this last recent run in Bitcoin up to 30K, to again, take some profits. But ultimately, our only interest is what's going to happen going forward. And if we just jump up to the weekly chart, we can see not a great deal has changed. We've had this downturn obviously last year, and we've had a really nice sort of kind of an intermediary bottom put in. I don't believe that this is the it's just a local bottom. I don't believe it's the full bottom. And then really nice run up into the 30s, a little bit of stability as expected. And I think one of two things is going to happen at this point. And we'll be able to see this as we continue. We stabilize in this area and maybe break out, and drive towards that 32, 33,000 level and kind of get a feel for what happens at that point, or we slowly start to bleed, and if we do eventually or inevitably get through this chunk of price right here, which comes in around about 28K, then that's going to be a very interesting time indeed, because if price does continue to drop here and it gets to 28, 27, 26 and doesn't respond or doesn't reverse or doesn't defend that level and start to drive higher, then it is possible that we're probably going to start to bleed lower. But again, one thing that we absolutely have to, to bear in mind is, we see a lot of movement to the upside has taken a lot of time, right? So if we see this move from here to here, for example, all right, that is an 11% move, right? And in realistically 2 or 3 hours, we kind of wiped out just under half of that. Right, so 11% up, we'll call it 10%, and we're very close to around about sort of 5% down just in a couple of hours. This is important because it illustrates a point I was trying to say recently in one of the live streams that I did, in that if Bitcoin is dumped on the market or some of these bigger players start to remove their Bitcoin from the market, we're going to see the illiquidity in the crypto market. I believe there to be a big liquidity, problem within the cryptocurrency market. I don't think there's enough money in the cryptocurrency market to sustain some of these sell-offs, and that's going to basically allow price to skip effectively, from say 29,000. If we get a huge amount of Bitcoin that hits the market, and is swapped for fiat currency, sold, we could very well see from 29,000, for example, all the way down to 22,000, because there's not enough liquidity in the market to sustain a move like that. There's nothing there to defend it. If the big players start to step back in, you've only got a very small percentage of people that have hundreds and hundreds of millions invested in Bitcoin. For example, the micro sailors and so on, that could even come close to moving the market. And to be fair, they're heavily invested in Bitcoin. If you notice recently, Michael Saylor purchased another bunch of Bitcoin, huge amounts, relative to what a normal investor will ever see in their lifetime. And Bitcoin hasn't even moved. So we've got to remember this. It's very important. I do feel, like I said, that the cryptocurrency market is illiquid, and I think there's going to be a liquidity crisis at some point. And this will just be in line with pretty much everything else that's happening worldwide, fundamentally, some of the issues globally, and so on. Dollars obviously continuing to get pounded, and etc. So we'll see how we fare. I'll continue to do the analysis. If we just move over to Binance, and we can see that Binance again, broad range consolidation, not a great deal happening really. If we just kind of do this, we can see that we're stuck within this broad range consolidation. There is a secondary consolidation basically here. We just come slight out, outside of that. But to be honest, with these wicks, which was that FTX acquisition and failure, excuse me, and failure, then ultimately we need to see some real momentum coming into the market, sustainable momentum. We're not seeing that. We're really just not seeing that. So at the end of the day, I will maintain my stance that whatever happens in crypto, it's going to be explosive and it's going to come out of nowhere. I really, really believe this is, this is to be the case. And there's a lot of variables and indicators showing that that is indeed going to be the case. If we just go over to XRP, if you guys know, obviously I'm doing an experiment. I've liquidated all of those positions, made about 20 bucks for now. So we're currently around about $1,000 which is great. That's fine. But everything was affected by this recent drop in Bitcoin. I exited DOT, for example, at 690. SHIB around about 11 cents. And then obviously BNB, I was up in the sort of 340s. Now we're down at 326. These are pretty aggressive moves. It takes a while for the market to go up, but on the downside, man, markets can move very, very quick. So we have to be cautious. Maintain caution, maintain, a sense of logical investing, have a plan, make sure you know what you're doing. And if you're in doubt about whether or not you should be investing in the current market conditions, just look around, look around and see, are things getting better or are things getting worse? And then you have to make a choice. Do you believe cryptocurrency is going to be the safe haven, while things get worse and worse and worse globally, or do you believe that cryptocurrency will also be affected by some of these larger, problems that the world faces at the moment? And that's the real crux of what we have to decide. So with that said, I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day or evening wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. All the best. Take care and ciao for now.